Sup, y'all? It's the one and only Twilight Mysteries on a light late night live stream. A lot of crazy things going on all across the world, especially with Trump being convicted of 34 felonies. And then on top of that situation, you also have the situation with Dr. Fauci. Definitely very interesting times in today's society. But one of the most important things to discuss today would be the current state of our climate, especially with these triple digit temperatures. And basically, what we have going on is that we have a heat dome heading towards the US with triple digit temperatures. And then one of the consequences for this situation, of course, would be the wildfires. And there's always been a whole lot of controversy in regards to these wildfires because there's been times in the past where the public has actually blamed these companies, these utility companies, for starting these wildfires. And that's also the same situation with the Hawaiian wildfires. And that's still one of the biggest mysteries in modern day times, due to the fact that the residents barely had any time to evacuate. Basically, they heard the alarm go off, and then within 5 to 10 minutes, the fire was within their range, basically within their homes. So that's why we've seen a lot of stories of the Hawaiian incident with people not being able to escape or survive due to the fact that these wildfires move at incredible speeds. So a lot of people are going to have to prepare for these wildfires. And like I said before, there's only so much you can do because there's been a lot of tragic stories of people, you know, within seconds, within minutes, these fires can jump from one location to another very fast, a lot faster than what people realize. That's for sure. So it's going to be very interesting to see, what type of consequences and what type of fires break out due to these triple digit temperatures. But it's going to be very interesting, especially in Arizona, California. There has to be more mitigation done. There has to be more, clearing of the shrubs, the brush, more mitigation done to protect these people. And one of the most controversial topics within this whole situation, of course, would be the insurance companies. A lot of them actually said that they would not serve these wildfire prone states, such as California, Arizona, and a lot of homeowners have also seen their insurance premiums skyrocket due to the fact that we're having all of these natural disasters, and these insurance companies don't want to pay the premium. And that's one of the main reasons why we've seen such a massive increase in insurance. So this is basically a new realm of the climate era. And I know a lot of people, you probably know people, or maybe you yourself have seen your insurance cost go up. So it's going to be very interesting situation because the economy is not doing that great. Inflation is at an all-time high, and then this is basically the worst case scenario to have people's insurance cost go up. That's for sure. Definitely very crazy times in today's society, but One of the most perplexing things, I just saw it on the news recently. I had no idea that Dr. Fauci was on trial. This is one of the most controversial topics in modern day society: the COVID 19 virus, the COVID 19 vaccines, the whole response. A lot of people say that it's basically a cover up for depopulation. And what's also very interesting too, as well, a lot of people say that Trump is, he's not really siding with Dr. Fauci, but a lot of people tend to forget that Trump was one of the first people to push out these vaccines that a lot of doctors and researchers say have potential negative side effects and consequences. So, and this is the whole situation with the Western scientific community. It's always about profit, especially with these pharmaceutical companies and just basically the whole medical industry within the United States. Basically, they run it like a business, especially with all of these expensive medicines that a lot of the vulnerable and sick and elderly people need. A lot of people are being taken advantage of. So, very interesting type of situation going on. But between basically the differences between Trump and Biden is that I guess a lot of people feel that with Trump, he has the possibility of fixing a lot of the issues with the country. So a lot of people are unhappy about the migration crisis. You know, that is a very shocking type of situation because not only do we have people coming over from, you know, nearby countries, but there's also a lot of people coming into the country from across the world. And we have thousands upon thousands of people coming into the country, and we have no idea who they are. And another fascinating situation, if you guys really think about this situation, it makes no sense for why Americans would have to be vaccine mandated, but none of the immigrants that enter this country don't have to take a vaccine. So if you put two and two together, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense of why would Americans have to take vaccines, but immigrants basically can kind of just get in without any type of mandate, without any type of, vaccine or anything else like that. But there's nothing wrong with immigration, nothing wrong at all. But this is a very dire situation because we have people coming over and they could be terrorists. There's been a lot of speculation that some of these people coming over could be soldiers. So that's why we really don't know what's going to happen within the next year or two, especially with America's future, because a lot of people say that America currently is a Trojan horse due to the fact that we've never had so many people in this country not knowing who they are. We are sitting ducks. Any day, anything can happen. We have people in this country, and most of them are the worst possible people. So, what we have going on is that a lot of these third world countries, such as Venezuela, and a lot of these South American countries are sending their worst people over. We're talking about MS-13, the worst of the worst. And not only are they coming over from South America, but they're also coming over from the Middle East and also these African countries. So, what do you think is going to happen in the next few years? This is obviously a plan to do something. I don't know what, but if you use common sense, something big is going to happen within the next few months, within the next few years. I can guarantee you this because what they're doing is that they're prepping for a war because we have mass amounts of bodies coming over from different countries, not knowing who they are. They can be anyone. And there's been a lot of speculation that even most of these people look like young, strong men, or basically people that you would want to draft into a army and fight a war. So this is a very concerning situation that a lot of people are just falling asleep on. And that's what a lot of countries accuse Americans of, just stuffing their face with donuts, cheeseburgers, McDonald's, and Carl's Jr., and not really knowing what the heck is going on in the world around them. And this is one of the reasons why it's so easy to pull the veil over American citizens due to the fact that we're always entertained by TV, the Kardashians, and all of our news is heavily filtered. And there's also a strong possibility, even from my own experience trying to research and report topics, I'll see something, watch something on the news, and then do the research myself, and then it's fake news. So we have fake news, mass manipulation of the public, deceiving, and it's only a matter of time until we have a terrorist event like 9/11. I can guarantee you that the next 9/11 is right around the corner. And you also have to consider, too, is that even during that era of 9/11, when we had these major risks for terrorist attack, we weren't as in danger and society was not as dangerous. It's more dangerous today due to the fact that we have major immigration crisis. Back when bin Laden was around, we didn't have thousands and thousands of people from the Middle East potentially going into this country and not knowing who they are. So, if there is, most likely, I don't want to be, too apocalyptic, but when the big event happens, the big terrorist event, the big takeover, it's going to be a lot worse than 9/11. I can guarantee you that because they had 7 people hijack a plane. They had 7 people get into this country not knowing who they are. But now in 2024, in recent times, we have hundreds upon thousands of people entering this country. They can be terrorists, they can be criminals, not knowing who they are, and they also have a lot of resources due to the fact that our government is giving these immigrants money. They're giving them housing. And what a lot of people are upset about is due to the fact that these immigrants are being treated a lot better than actual American citizens, especially the homeless and the homeless veterans. That's one of the most shocking parts of American society. Even people from other countries cannot believe how can you serve your country, go somewhere where people are trying to kill you and shoot you, risk your life, come back home and be treated like an animal, worse than an animal. Literally. They treat dogs at the Humane Society a lot better than they do the actual people, the actual homeless people. Let me take a quick breather because I tend to talk a lot without breathing. Yeah, very interesting situation going on. And a lot of people say, and it makes a whole lot of sense too, that Biden is one of the major players for this situation. How can let America get to this situation? He has to be part of the plan. This is a plan. If you don't see this for yourself, then I'm sorry, you don't want to believe the truth. This whole plan from the Majestic 12, from the elite, it's being done in a manner that, it's like hidden in plain sight. And that's how a lot of these mysterious organizations and so forth operate. They use a lot of symbolism, and when they do it in plain sight. That's for sure. Whole lot of crazy things going on in today's society. And what's even more concerning too is that we're beginning to weaponize space, especially with China sending their probe to the moon. So this means new weapons, new types of warfare, and new types of danger that we've never seen before. And I think this is one of the main reasons why we've had so much space junk falling from the sky like never before. We're having objects fall into people's backyard. We're having objects from space fall on hidden trails in different places like that. So we're starting to see a lot more space debris fall onto Earth like never before. And it's also kind of a coincidence of how we're going up into space with all of these missions and all of these exploring the moon. And I guess we're kind of within a new era of moon exploration. But it seems like, there's something going on, some type of conflict going on in space, maybe even a potential war, and they don't want to let the public know about it. Definitely some type of space conflict going on. That's what I'm trying to explain, because we have a race towards the moon, and all of these countries are trying to get to the moon as quickly as possible: Russia, China, and the US. But at the same time, we're having all of this space debris like never before, objects, all of these chunks of metal falling onto Earth. So I personally do believe that there's some type of space conflict between our countries going on in space, maybe on the moon, and they're keeping it a secret. That's for sure. And you will never understand this. You will never figure this out unless you really critically think about what's going on. That's for sure. Late night live stream. That's for sure. That's for sure. And what's even more amazing too is that we're starting to discover a lot more new animal species. A lot more species are being discovered in our oceans like never before. And I think we're going to start seeing some pretty amazing animals like we've never seen before, due to the fact that climate change is changing the atmosphere. So species that used to stay hidden and stay hidden from humans, there is a strong possibility that they can start to come out of their habitat. That's why there's been a lot of mysterious events going on with the ocean, with these mysterious predators eating sharks whole and so forth. And there's been a lot of radar technology detecting massive radar signals of things in the oceans. And a lot of people say that these could be like massive unknown animals. And a specific example of that would be a animal called the blob. So very interesting times. And another such species would be the Sasquatch. Okay. We're having these species coming out of their habitat because the world is changing. So we can expect a lot more encounters with these mystical creatures such as the Sasquatch, because they definitely exist. That's for sure. And basically, these Sasquatch or Bigfoot, they're basically a representation of what we were before technology. before conflict, before human greed. And that's why a lot of people say that these Sasquatch have the ability to move in and out of this world. And this is the same situation with ancient people because ancient people had the ability to use nature's technology. And I think that's one of the main ways that the pyramids were built through vibrations, through frequencies. And a lot of people speculate that Bigfoot can do the same thing. That's why a lot of people, when they see a Bigfoot, they see it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of vanishes into the air. That's why a lot of people say that there's some type of paranormal aspect with these Bigfoot. But I just think that they have the ability to tap into nature's technology. Definitely a very fascinating concept. And the same concept can be said about the Sasquatch, whatever, wolf dog or wolf man. And we're going to start seeing a lot more things that we've never seen before due to the fact that our veil between this world and the paranormal world is becoming a lot more thinner. That's for sure. And I don't know if it's due to climate change, if it's due to this new technology that we're using. And a lot of people are concerned with what CERN is doing because there's a lot of secrecy with this organization, and they do have some very controversial topics and subjects that they tend to get into. So a lot of people are concerned with CERN and the projects that CERN is currently doing. I guess one of their major projects is that they want to find and discover dark matter. Because a lot of people don't realize is that what we're seeing out there when we look into space, it's only about 5% of what's out there. So when we look into space, that means that we're not able to see about 95% of what's actually out there. So imagine that. Imagine all of the things around us that we can't see. So we're basically only able to see about 5% of what's actually out there through our human perception and abilities, which is a pretty amazing consideration. That's for sure. And then also, I guess we can kind of discuss too the James Webb Space Telescope. And a lot of people speculate that these images that they're sending us from the James Webb Space Telescope, there's been a lot of conspiracies that these images are just fake, that they're fake images. And there's people that have actually tried to prove this, that the James Webb Space Telescope is sending people fake images. And I truly believe that this is the case. Due to the fact that a lot of these images really do look fake. That's for sure. Because if we took a picture of the actual universe and the actual space, I think we would see a lot more than planets and stars. I think we would see like Dyson spheres, UFOs, and actual activity in space. And I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people believe that the James Webb Space Telescope photos are fake, due to the fact that if we actually took a real picture of what was out there, it would probably prove that aliens are all over the universe, mining, setting up Dyson spheres, and so forth. I know I talk a lot. Most people tend to just hang out, but I'm a very talkative person. And sometimes when I talk, I tend to run out of things to say. Have to do a live stream more or less, more chill based. That's for sure. Yep. Crazy, crazy world. Never seen so many, you know, things going on all at once, from diseases to flooding to climate change to wars. It's an exact representation and replication of the Old Testaments and basically all of the old biblical tells and prophets, because the Bible talks a whole lot about floods. The Bible talks a whole lot about conflicts and climate change and even insects, especially with these cicadians. It's an all of it is a direct reflection to what the Bible says, especially with all the old prophecies and testaments. That's why a lot of people say, especially people that know religion and people that know the scripture, that a lot of people believe that these are the end times. Okay? That's where all of the evidence points. And then also, you also have to consider too is that I don't know if you guys are kind of up to date with the news, but the stock market had a major glitch. Okay. And what do you think this came from? Sounds a whole lot like the Baltimore Bridge collapse. So, in a video that I did earlier today, even before this live stream, and even before I knew about the stock and Berkshire Hathaway, that there will be a major increase in cyber attacks due to the fact that the US is becoming more and more involved with conflicts with countries with very sophisticated technology, such as China and Russia. So we can expect a lot more attempts on our prime infrastructure, because this is the new era of warfare. We don't send troops over to beaches and bomb ports and stuff like that. Where the new type of warfare will be through diseases, through biochemicals, through cyber attacks, and so forth. So you can also expect a major cyber attack coming within the near future. I can guarantee you this. Whether it comes from an adversary country or whether it comes from, like a dark organization or a criminal organization. These people have the most advanced technology. It's 2024. We've never seen technology like this before with these malware viruses. And then there's also our military has recently stated that they're very concerned about cyber attacks that use AI. This is a whole nother realm that I forgot too. How AI has its pros and cons, because AI can be used in a good way, and then also AI could be used in a bad way too, as well. And that's for sure. Especially with this degenerative artificial intelligence. There's a great possibility that some of our adversary countries, or even some of these criminal organizations, could use AI to implement cyber attacks like we've never seen before. And hopefully, to you guys that are listening, maybe you guys heard about the news story about 600,000 internet routers being destroyed. This happened. Yes, it actually happened not too long ago. And a lot of people were quite upset because internet routers all across the country were destroyed. And you can expect a lot more attacks like this, especially within our critical infrastructure, our hydroelectricity, our electrical grid. That's for sure. And there's been a whole lot of speculation that the Baltimore Bridge collapse could have been a cyber attack. especially with the path of the ship and how it moved. This was not a route of, like a lost captain trying to control his boat. This was a direct beeline to the bridge. This was an obvious attack, whether you want to believe it or not. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, I can tell you. There could be a possibility where we wake up tomorrow and don't have internet. Very likely. So that's why each day you kind of have to appreciate, take the precautions, and stay very aware. That's definitely a very terrifying possibility of, bad people using AI in combination with these cyber attacks. I mean, the US, we're basically just sitting ducks because our infrastructure is crumbling. We have all of these people in the country, all of these immigrants from not only from countries from around America, but from countries from all across the world: Africa, the Middle East, China. So, what do you think is happening? What do you think is going on? If you use your mind and you really critically think, you know, it's only common sense that something big is going to happen. It's going to happen very soon, and people are just like sheep. I don't know what's going on in today's society. Seems like people just want to kind of just people just want to stick their head into the sand and eat their cheeseburgers and their McDonald's and Taco Bell and not care. Not care. But there are a whole lot of bad people out there. And it's always made me wonder, what happened to all of our great activists? MLK, all of these great activists, Gandhi, Malcolm X, and so forth. Well, John F. Kennedy. What happens is that when you stand up to the opposition and to the Majestic 12 and to these elite, usually you end up dead. And that's just the plain Jane situation. And that's why we haven't seen as many activists like we did back in the 70s, in the 60s, and even the 80s. And the perfect example of this would be the whole Boeing situation, with these whistleblowers turning up dead. Okay? Very concerning situation there. And do you think Boeing is the only company, the only airplane company to have issues with their mechanics and their engineering? No. What's going on, guys? Is this a planned attack? Why are our airplanes falling out of the sky? Why are our airplanes not operating correctly? Is this really negligence at this level? How can you build a plane knowing that when it goes into the air, there's a potential that it could crash or fall apart? And a lot of people are trying to blame turbulence. That is a very strong possibility due to the fact that climate change is causing an increase in turbulence. And one of the most shocking things I've actually ever seen on the news was basically the open door, completely open passenger door on a major airline uh, jet or whatever. Basically, you just had a guy sitting down in his chair looking over, and he can just see like an open window, like a big open window. Is this more than a coincidence? What's going on? Especially with all of these cyber attacks, they can easily crash all the planes if they wanted to. And these are the type of situations that we're going to start seeing. This is the type of warfare that we're entering. This is not World War One. This is not World War Two. This is World War Three, and it's done through a lot more strategical way, through cyber attacks, through biochemical diseases. And some people say that COVID-19 was even could have been a bio weapon. That's for sure. And there's another topic. I don't really like to jump into it too much, but the topic of UFOs. What are they? Are they ours? Are they from different countries? Are they from our adversaries? Are they from the future? Are they from the past? Because what a lot of people tend to forget is that when people see UFOs, when they see technological things from, a lot of people assume that they're from our future. But there is a strong possibility that we can have people traveling from our past into the future, but yet they're a lot more technologically advanced than us. As there's been a lot of speculation about ancient advanced civilizations, even more sophisticated technologically wise than today's current society, such as Atlantis. So that's a big time misconception, I think. When people think of time travelers, especially more technologically sophisticated ones, people always assume that they come from the future. But I personally believe that most of them come from our past, from ancient advanced civilizations that existed thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands before humans. And they were wiped out by some type of cataclysm. And we're following the same direct path of all of these ancient civilizations that were wiped out. And a lot of researchers and scientists say that these ancient advanced civilizations were wiped out by what? By climate change. Is there seems like there's some type of cycle going on with these advanced civilizations. They basically get to a certain point with their technology, like we are today, and then some type of cataclysm wipes them out completely. And in my personal opinion, the only natural disaster that could completely wipe out a civilization from the face of the earth and not leave any type of evidence would be something coming from the ocean, like a major tsunami or a major storm that overtakes the land. And that's what a lot of researchers and scientists speculate is that a lot of these ancient advanced civilizations, some of them could have even been more advanced than us, were potentially wiped out by a climate change event. Okay. See, the difference between modern day society and ancient people, such as the ancient Egyptians and even the potential Atlantis beings, is that they were able to use nature as technology. So basically, tapping into, I think I said this before, certain vibrations, certain frequencies. And they weren't hindered by all of this. We have a lot of things going on in the environment that we can't see, like radio waves, 5G. So there's a lot of things out there that can hinder our spiritual awareness and development that a lot of people are not aware of, especially with this 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi. So this hinders, it seems like some type of constructed plan to hinder our spiritual awareness and basically the spiritual talents and abilities that we had before all of this technology. So So I truly believe that these ancient people had the ability of telekinesis, telepathy, all sorts of things. And this could have been one of the ways that they built the pyramids in Egypt through telekinesis. And the using of vibrations to move these stones. A lot of people want to say ancient aliens. That is a strong possibility. But a lot of people say it's also a racist ideology that, melanated people from ancient times didn't have the ability to do these fascinating engineering feats. And some of these engineering feats with some of these monuments in ancient times, with these ancient temples, a lot of researchers and archaeologists saying that even with today's technology and machines, with all of the sophisticated equipment that we have today, that we could not replicate what the ancient people did with how they built their pyramids and monuments. A lot of them have perfect edges. A lot of them look like they were actually cut and constructed with lasers. What a shocking revelation. But I truly believe we're on the same path. And it's only a matter of time until we do something to ourselves. Hopefully, it's not like a nuclear war, or if we go up into space and mess up the orbit or do some type of, collateral damage up there. But this is the same path that we're heading towards. Same exact thing. They say history repeats itself, and this is the same situation with us today. Humanity is heading towards a dead end road. Humanity is at war with nature, and whenever you're at war with nature, usually it's not a good outcome. And that's exactly the situation in today's society. We're at war with the natural world at all costs, at all aspects, each and every day, every single second, every single minute, every single hour, every single day, every single month, every single year. Humanity is at war with nature. That's for sure. And it's also important to emphasize the concept of collateral damage, because this concept not only applies to wars, especially with the bombings and killings of innocent people, kids, but this same concept applies to nature with our industrial activities and so forth. Nature is a collateral damage to our profit turning machine. Okay. Nature is collateral damage to our industries and so forth. So, definitely some similarities with collateral damage in war aspects, with innocent civilians being killed by bombs, and then also with the destruction of nature and the natural world, with deforestation, pollution, CO2 emissions, climate change, and global warming is collateral damage to, with all of our human activities. Definitely some deep stuff that we're talking about here. This is just not a regular live stream where I just sit back and take questions. These are deep topics from the head, from the freestyle. What else? What else is there out there that's amazing going on in today's world? I think I talked about Dr. Fauci being on trial. Yeah, very controversial topic. And what's even more ironic to me is that a lot of people say that Trump is against COVID, against the vaccines, and against Fauci. But a lot of people tend to forget that Trump was one of the first people to push out these vaccines that a lot of people say have detrimental effects. I don't have no problem with taking a vaccine. Vaccines are good for humanity, but people deserve to know what's inside the vaccines. If you can't tell me what's inside the vaccine, why in the heck would I want to put it in my body? Because, like I said before, there's nothing wrong with vaccines. But these COVID-19 situation, there's definitely some secrecy here. And there should never be secrecy when it comes to your health and what you put into your body. That's like playing Russian roulette. I don't want to play Russian roulette with my life and my future. That's for sure. That's basically what people were doing. They were playing Russian roulette with their lives by taking something, not knowing what's inside or the potential consequences. That's why I truly believe that the medical establishment in the United States, they're basically the most savage crooks because they're profiting off of people's health, the most vulnerable aspects of human being they're profiting off of, especially with raising the medications for these elderly people, especially with the pharmaceutical companies and their outrageous prices, especially with people that need, life saving medicines, cancer treatments, certain blood diseases, all out of reach for profit. And a lot of people tend to forget is that this is just another amazing perspective that I hope I can share with you guys. So, a lot of people tend to forget that a lot of our major medicines, all of the major medicines that people take, especially Tylenol, most of all the medicines come from the forest. People tend to forget that. Most of the medicines that we have in today's society aren't made in a lab, but they actually come from the Amazon rainforest. And this is one of the most detrimental aspects of deforestation because we're destroying potential habitat that could have life saving medicines and cancer treatments and so forth. So, this is another aspect that a lot of people tend to forget as well. And just talking about the Amazon, they're being completely decimated, Brazil, with all of the flooding and so forth. And they say the Amazon River is at its lowest level in history. Imagine all of the creatures and animal species that we have yet to identify within the Amazon River. And the same thing can be said about the Congo River, too, as well. The Congo River is being polluted like never before. And a lot of African citizens are completely outraged. And what we have going on is that we have a lot of these foreign countries coming into Africa, mining all of the resources and just polluting like crazy. I mean, they have no consideration whatsoever for what they're doing, especially these mining companies, these oil companies, these diamond companies. A lot of them are responsible for polluting the Congo River. I believe, I'm not for sure if it's the Amazon or the Congo River that's the longest river in the world. And then also, kind of just to really put everything into perspective, a lot of people don't tend to realize that when we were younger, when we were kids, even if you asked your grandparents, you can ask your parents, You know, they knew that there was a lot more natural streams and rivers and more natural habitats. So, what's going on is about 85% of freshwater fish species, not only fish, but I guess all types of freshwater fish species, have went extinct. So that's a major percentage. 85% of all freshwater animal species have went extinct. And I've seen this just for myself from going to a stream that I always used to go to as a kid, a little creek. Used to always go there and catch tadpoles, crawdads, they had little minnows. But now, when I go back, it's completely empty. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fertilizer, with the chemicals that we're putting into the water that's completely decimating these freshwater species. And there's also, I believe, a new study came out that said it's not safe to eat freshwater fish no matter where you are in America, due to the fact that a lot of our fish have forever chemicals in them. And I am a big time fishing enthusiast. You can call me a professional fisher, man. And I've never seen it like this before, with all of these streams and creeks being completely void of life. Crawdads, frogs, minnows. And I personally think it has something to do with Monsanto and something that they're putting in the grass and the fertilizer and the plants that's seeping into these rivers and creeks and just decimating freshwater species. That's for sure. And what's even more concerning to me is that it's been all over the news. I'm pretty sure you've seen it too. Is that there's been a major uptake in young people getting cancer. So a lot more younger people are being diagnosed with cancer. And do you know why? I can tell you why. Due to all of the pesticides, herbicides, due to all of the preservatives, you know, all of these chemicals within our environment are causing cancer. That's why there's a big discrepancy between cancer rates with the younger generation and then also the older generation. Because the older generation, they did not grow up with all of the pesticides, the herbicides, and all of the preservatives. But the younger generation, we're kind of like a lab rat. There could be a possibility where, no one makes it over 60. No one makes it over 50. Okay? What's going to happen to the younger population within the next 30 to 20 years? No one knows, especially with all of these preservatives and contamination of the food, the water. And we just had a major water crisis not too long ago. They basically had a nationwide contamination with America's water. Okay? It was all over the news. They said that the nation's drinking water is not safe, it's contaminated. Okay. Okay. And you also have to understand is that these are the types of attacks that we're going to start seeing. This is the type of war games. They're going to hit us in our water. They're going to hit us in our food. They're going to hit us in the environment. They're going to hit us with cyber attacks. They're going to hit us from space. This is the new type of warfare. We're not sending people to beaches. We're not sending, it's a whole different type of game as we approach into 2024. And a lot of people say that we're already in World War III through space weaponization. Okay? Very strange how we've had all of this extreme weather go from one country to another. So basically we had the Dubai flooding. And then right after the Dubai flooding, Russia and China were also hit with floods too as well. So it seems like, in my opinion, if you're a critical observer, and there's not a whole lot of critical observers in today's society, that's what Twilight Mysteries is all about, is that there is some type of conflict going on, some type of struggle going on that people don't realize. That's for sure. Very interesting apocalyptic times in today's society. But a lot of things going on out there, especially with this all of this 5G technology, cell phone radiation. They say that's pretty bad too as well. They're trying to keep it out of the public eye. But a lot of firefighters and so forth, they did a big study on this. When they had 5G antennas placed near their fire station, there was a big study that said a lot of the firemen within that station experienced terrible conditions. A lot of them got sick, a lot of them degraded health wise. And there's a whole lot of speculation that there is a coordination with these 5G satellite structures and then also potential devastating health consequences. That was a big time controversial subject where all of these firefighters were trying to say, like, hey, these 5G antennas are very dangerous. They have detrimental effects. And we're starting to see them pop up all over the place, all over the place. And a lot of them are being disguised with these trees and they're trying to make them fit into the environment. But if I saw one, I would get the heck away from it. That's for sure. And it's also kind of a scary situation because this kind of correlates with the whole Cuban embassy situation where a lot of our American officials have went to these embassies in different foreign countries and then all of a sudden they get very ill and sick and some of them even die. And there is a lot of speculation that our officials, when they go to foreign countries and different embassies, that they're being hit with these unseen weapons such as radio waves and so forth. Telltale signs of radiation poisoning. Very, very interesting subject, too. There is another concept that people tend to not really agree with, but I think it's also a very strong possibility that with all of these solar flares that we're having, these solar flares send massive amounts of radiation into the Earth, into Earth's atmosphere. And when you send all of this energy to Earth, this in turns warms up the oceans and provides fuel for tropical storms. So there is a great possibility that solar storms could unleash a wave of, just gigantic hurricanes. And there is a strong possibility that radiation could be one of the main causes for climate change. Because I personally believe that there's a lot of radiation in the air, a lot more than what they want to tell us. It seems that way. Something seems kind of different with the atmosphere and the sun and just the whole system. Something seems a little bit different. And I think one of the main reasons for this is that there's a lot more radiation in the atmosphere than what they want to tell us. Because could you imagine if they say, hey, if they came out with a news story tomorrow that say, hey, we have unsafe radiation levels in the atmosphere, this would definitely cause a disruption in the economy. This would definitely cause a disruption and economic activities. So I truly believe that there's a lot more radiation in the atmosphere than what mainstream scientists in the scientific community actually wants to emit. And I think a lot of this radiation is coming from the activity of our sun and solar flares because currently a lot of people don't know that the sun goes through a 11-year cycle. And right now, we're currently at the solar maximum. And the solar maximum is the most energetic point within this 11-year solar cycle. So, then just to kind of put everything into perspective, in 2019, scientists and researchers observed zero sunspots on the sun. So basically, no visible sunspots on the sun in 2019. But now, in 2025, next year, during the solar maximum, scientists expect over 105 sunspots on the sun. Okay. And then you also have to consider, too, as well, is that the massive G5 geomagnetic storm that hit Earth maybe about a few weeks ago disrupted farmers' GPS satellites all across the Midwest. So basically, what GPS stands for is Global Positioning Satellites. So not only did this massive solar storm, I think it was the most massive solar storm in over two decades. Not only did it disrupt farmers' GPS satellites, but it also stalled their planting equipment all across the Midwest US. And a lot of these farmers said they've never seen anything like this before with all of their equipment malfunctioning. And you also have to consider that these farmers have been farming for a generation. So a lot of them have been around for 100 years. So this is a telltale sign that our sun is not only becoming more active, but it's becoming a lot more powerful. And we will experience more powerful solar storms. I don't know if it's due to climate change or what. Because they kind of want to throw it under the table and say, hey, the sun is acting this way. I think it's more than just the solar minimum and maximum situation. I think there's something a lot more deeper, a lot more sophisticated, and a lot more alarming going on with our sun that they don't want to tell us. Would you, you know, think about it? You know, that's one thing how you get society in a state of chaos and out of control is say there's something wrong with our, with the solar system, with the sun. So, and there's also been a lot of controversial discussion about what Bill Gates wants to do with the sun. Because not too long ago, a few years ago, Bill Gates had a plan to actually dim the sun in order to prevent global warming. And there's also been a whole lot of research and scientific, energy put into creating an artificial sun. A lot of countries all across the globe are working hard to create an artificial sun. And just to kind of give you guys some statistics, what's even more shocking is that some of these artificial suns contain more sunlight than everything on Earth, than what the sun can provide. So these artificial suns are able to produce sunlight greater than all of the sunlight combined on Earth. Imagine that. That was kind of shocking to me due to the fact that it seems that they could easily replace it and not have anyone know. That's for sure. It is a strong possibility. Very interesting times like we've never seen before. People say these could be apocalyptic times. Very concerning because this is a direct reflection of all the old Bible testaments. Noah's Ark, especially with all of the flooding. Direct correlation. So eerie of what happened with potential advanced civilizations before humans. A lot of them were wiped out by cataclysms, by climate events. And this seems it's like a direct correlation to what's going on in today's society with climate change, with wars, with diseases, a direct reflection to biblical testaments. And I didn't even say or even mention the Holy War because we have a holy war going on in the Middle East. And I guess the Holy Land type of situation. And there is a whole lot of speculation that this whole war going on in the Middle East, it's actually a cover up for some type of advanced technology or some type of highly valued possession or item within the desert, within the region of this war zone. Yeah, definitely a very dire situation. There is a strong possibility that the war could actually be a cover up for finding some type of ancient lost technology buried beneath the desert. Because they say we've only excavated about less than 2% of ancient Egypt. So that's over 90% of temples, of artifacts, of whatever in the Middle East and then also Egypt that we have yet to discover. So there is a strong possibility that there is some type of lost advanced technology hidden somewhere in the Middle East. And this is the reason for all of these conflicts. All of these wars in the Middle East could potentially be fought over a lost piece of advanced technology somewhere buried beneath the desert. That's a very strong possibility because we have a war going on in the Holy Land. And a lot of these Middle East countries are known for having these ancient, highly prized artifacts. And this is one of the main reasons why, when there's wars in the Middle East, a lot of the temples, a lot of the history gets destroyed because a lot of these people don't want the truth to come out, the truth of the origins of human civilization. That's why there's always so much destruction of artifacts, of history within the Middle East because people don't want us to know our true origins. And this could be one of the main reasons why there's so much destruction in the Middle East. Why so many bombs? Why so much infrastructure damage? What are they really doing? Is this a cover up? I truly believe that this could be a possibility. Why so many wars in the Middle East in conjunction with all of these mysterious mysteries about our past, about potential lost technology? That's for sure. That's a very interesting perspective that a lot of people tend to forget. That's for sure. And what's even more perplexing too is that a lot of people say that the US has a whole lot of correlations with ancient Egypt. A lot of our cities and also a lot of our states are named after ancient Egyptian cities, old cities like Las Vegas, and so forth. And there is a theory that there's like an ancient Egyptian civilization buried beneath Las Vegas. That's for sure. And then, of course, you can't forget about all of the correlations with ancient Egyptian symbolism in the Grand Canyon. I can't really specify the exact states and the exact cities that have these ancient Egyptian names, but there is a whole lot of them. That's for sure. But there is a direct correlation to America and ancient Egypt. Too many correlations for there not to be an actual, link. Because a lot of people say that ancient Egyptians were the first people to discover America. And a lot of people tend to undervalue the navigation skills, especially the sea navigation skills of early melanated people. A lot of the ancient historians from different, countries such as Greece, such as Europe, these past historians have always praised ancient Egyptians, especially the pharaohs, for having superior ocean navigational skills. So they were master ocean navigators. And a lot of this history gets thrown away. It gets covered up. That's for sure. Ancient Egypt, one of the most controversial aspects of today's society. You know, I don't really want to get too controversial, but does it make sense that Egypt, out of all of the African countries in Africa, is the only country to have light skinned people? You know, is that too much of a coincidence? I think so. Because the current people in Egypt in today's society, they have genes that are not Egyptian, but they have genes that are more or less related to Arab Arab heritage and DNA. Because the people that originally inhabited ancient Egypt, of course, were the shepherd kings and also the Nubians as well. And a lot of them were moved out of ancient Egypt by conquering nations such as the Romans, the Greece, and so forth. And that's why today we see light skinned people in Egypt, because the people that are currently in Egypt now do not represent ancient Egypt. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions in today's society. That's for sure. And there's too much evidence, too many scriptures. It's written all over the walls that ancient Egypt people were Africans. And there's no denying this whatsoever. That's for sure. Whether people want to admit it or not. Guess we're going to kind of wrap it up here with all of this interesting discussions. I know I've talked a lot. Sometimes I kind of need to just slow it down a little bit, but I just feel like I have so much to say on my mind, especially with all of these things going on in today's world. But thank you so much for staying tuned to the one and only Twilight Mysteries. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are. I want to give you a thanks, but thank you.